All right, so I am going to say this that home affordability in places like the Midwest, or I was looking at homes like in Oklahoma City or Tulsa, so Oklahoma, and I'm sure in other places like Georgia and in the Southeast and in the Midwest, there still are places that are affordable. I was looking on there; you could get a pretty nice house for $250,000 to $300,000. Um, around 2,000 square feet. Not anything fancy, really, but in Oklahoma City, you could probably get, I saw a pretty nice one for 300,000, like a pretty nice house. That if you were to move that house here, it would be probably $1.5 million. So the cost of living there is way less, and so that's something to consider. I mean, I don't know what you would necessarily do in Oklahoma City, but if you can do something online or something that you know, I looked at some of the jobs there, and I don't know. I don't think there's a ton of high-paying jobs there, but if you consider that your overhead would be 20% or 30% as much as living in California or Washington or New York, maybe Florida, Massachusetts, it might be something to consider, right? Because even if you make, let's say you make 100,000 in a high cost of living area, you might actually end up better if you make 40,000 in a low cost of living area, because you could actually afford a house, you could afford the monthly mortgage payment, and at least have a reliable place to live, right, with a constant mortgage. And whereas in New York or California or Washington, you might be making significantly more money nominally, but because the home prices are so high and the rent prices are so high, you end up keeping none of it anyway, and you can't afford a home anyway, right? So you make twice as much money or three times as much money, but it doesn't do you any good, because even the down payment on in one of those states would be 150,000, like as a minimum, if you're going to do 20% down, probably right around there, maybe 100,000, but not less than 100. And then at a 7% interest rate, you're looking at $3,000 a month, probably, maybe more, three to 35 to $4,000 a month, and up from there, depending on the house. If you go to Oklahoma City, I'm sure there's certain parts of Texas, I'm sure Kansas City, like I said, Midwest cities, Southeast, you could put, even on that $300,000 house, you could put 60,000 down, and then I think your monthly mortgage payment would be right around 2,000, maybe a little bit less, 1,800, something like that. So that's more doable, especially if you live with someone else. That's $900 or $1,000 a month. So that becomes a lot more realistic. But you have to live in one of those areas. Can you do something online? Can you work remotely? Can you still make a decent income there? That's the question. But it seems like a better option than making what some would consider a respectable income in a place where you have no purchasing power, right? Even just a normal home in some of these high cost of living areas is $1 million. And it's not even nice, right? It's just what most would consider a starter home is around $1 million in some of these areas. So you really, your only option, again, I've said it before, but you got two options really, or maybe three, but you either accept your life and you just accept that you're never going to be able to own anything and you continue to live where you live. That's option one. Option two is, okay, I have to make more money. I'm going to stay here, but I'm going to try something different. I'm going to start a business or risk something and try to double or triple or quadruple my income, because making $100,000 a year is not cutting it. After taxes and just the stuff that you have to pay for, you're never going to be able to make enough money. You're never going to be able to use that to actually afford a house that costs $1 million with interest rates where they're at. It's just, forget about it. It's not going to happen. And then your third option is leaving, is saying, you know what? I can't do it. I can no longer afford to live here. It's ridiculous. I have to be making $300,000 a year, $250,000 to $300,000 a year pre-tax in order to realistically, get into a home and still have money to breathe, right? That's what you need if you're in a big city that has expensive housing. You need, at a minimum, 200, but 250 to 300 probably as a combined income to really, pay your mortgage, pay all the home expenses related to owning a home, and then still have money to live, right, on top of that. Because, like I said in other videos, you shouldn't be spending more than like 30% of your money on your mortgage or on your home. People now have to spend damn near 100% of their income. If you live in a place like Seattle or California or New York, if you have a normal income, 70 to 100% of your income is going to have to go towards your house. It's not sustainable, right? It's not going to happen. If you go to Oklahoma City, like I said, or a lower cost of living area, you can afford a down payment. Most people could save 50 or 60 grand in a couple years. If you were diligent, you don't even have to really be making a ton of money to save 50 grand, I would say, if you're diligent about it. But saving 150 grand is a lot harder. And then the mortgage payment's the main thing. What can people afford on a monthly basis? I don't think most people can afford $4,000 or $5,000 a month, especially for just a normal starter house. But I think it's more realistic, obviously, if they can afford $1,500 to $2,000. I think that's what you could get if you get a house like I said in Oklahoma. So that's just more realistic. Now, I don't know what people necessarily do there, but if you can make close to $100,000 in one of these lower cost of living areas, I think that's going to be a much better quality of life than making $150,000 in such a high cost of living area. So you guys let me know what you think. I don't know. I think if you're in these high cost of living areas, you really have to consider, if you don't make a ton of money here, you got to consider moving, right? If you don't have family, if you don't have support in one of these high cost of living areas and you're just by yourself, you're never going to get ahead, right? Unless that was my other option. You have to literally double, triple, or 4x your income if you realistically want to stay and be a participant in like owning a home and starting a family in an expensive area. Otherwise, you got to move. Even if you don't have a great job lined up, you can go figure it out. The housing prices are 30, 40% as much. So anyways, let me know what you think. Subscribe if you want. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.